Plus, you've got 2 block stacks, so you're basically just making those 2 block stacks last even longer. So I'm going to turn around this 3 right here and try to get as much damage on this Nem as I can. I can see that the set is pretty low. I'm going to pop the shell for my team and start ulting right now. I need to get onto the set. I can see that he's trying to teleport right there. He's not going to be able to get off. Going to land down my pools and try to make a little bit of room between my Woojer and the rest of their team. And then I got to use my last one to go ahead and get me out of this. Going right over here for the new one. Going to hit him with my knockup and then hit him with the 2 follow-up. And I'm going to get a big heal off of that as well from my Vampiric Shroud. Hello, everybody. Incon here with your Jorm solo guide. Limited time, starting up the guide. We are going to be grabbing our Vamp Shroud and heading over to the solo lane, grabbing our Chalice of Healing. I'm going to look to see what my jungler is starting. My jungler has not started with a Hand of the Gods. If your jungler is not starting with Hand of the Gods, that means standardly they want you to start at the speed with them and then move through the jungle. If they start with a Hand of the Gods, that typically means that they want to go straight from the speed to basically ganking mid. So you would start at your blue instead. So we're going to be starting off with our 2. This is going to be the ability that we also level up first. This is our main damaging ability. Does damage in a circle around us. Fairly small circle. It's actually not that big, but you also have to factor in that Jorm is a pretty large character, so it tends to actually be a little bit bigger than you think it is. And this ability is going to have a lot of interactions with our portals. Our pools. We are not a Janus. That would be extra scary if these had a portal effect. With our pools, our first ability, we're going to get level 2, and this is the ability that kind of Jorm's kit is based around. All of his abilities kind of interact with this little pool. So when I use my 2 nearby this pool, it's actually going to do a little bit of extra action. It's going to give us a little bit of extra damage. Now I'm going to throw down my 1 right here for the slow effect, trying to go onto this Cucullin. I'm going to use my 3 for the knockup effect and to create some more pools, and we're going to be able to grab a quick kill right there. So you kind of just got a nice little look at all of his abilities. So my 1 is the pool. This does damage initially and damage over time. The 2 does damage around your character, but depending on how you use it, it does an extra bonus damage. So at the end of the ability, it does damage to everybody around you. It trembles and slows them, which is fantastic. Our 1 also slows, so you've got 2 slows built into your kit on Jorm. And then when you use a cloud, they're called clouds, not pools. I mean, it's definitely a pool, not a cloud. But when you have your 2 effect over the 1, you also get an increased size. So you can see that little double radius right there. Regular radius, double radius on the second ability. And then it also gives you some empowered autos. So those empowered autos basically mean that while you're auto attacking on Jorm, you can see this little bar. When you auto attack, it is going to go down. That is the rate at which you are actually autoing. And after you use your 2 with the pool, you're going to get empowered autos, which means that you can see it's actually not going down there for a second. So you get like a little half second of not actually losing any of your auto attack passive, so you can use it longer and get more damage out of it. A lot of stuff on this second ability. Also, you don't get like the damage on damage when you use your 2. Like most abilities, damage after the first instance is going to be halved. That is pretty standard in Smite. It doesn't like indefinitely stack up. With my 3, this is going to be our movement / getaway / initiation tool. It's going to throw us down into stealth. You are a big old stealthy snake, and when we come out of this, we're going to go ahead and knock up everybody around us. Now, we can cancel this early. You don't have to wait for the full duration in order to utilize that knockup. So you can cancel it whenever you want to. It gives us a little bit of extra movement speed while we're down there in the stealth. And if we use it on one of our pools, it is going to summon more of them. So earlier you saw I was in my 3, I popped it on a pool, and you can see you're gonna pop up 2 more. So a pretty standard combination on Jorm is you want to get as many of these pools out as you can before you use your 2 in order to maximize your damage. So oftentimes, if you wanted to do a regular combo, it's just going to be your 1-2. 1 comes out, does some damage, slows. 2 comes out, does some damage, slows. Easy peasy. But if you want the full wombo combo, then instead what you're traditionally going to do is you're going to use your 1, then you are going to 3 to pop up some more pools, hopefully knocking up the target in the process, and then following up with the 2, so that way you've got 3 pools, you've slowed them, you've gotten them knocked up, now they're stuck in all the pools, and you slap them for a big old consuming bellow. Finally, our ultimate, we get to use that up to 3 times. It's basically, we're just gonna give people a bunch of slap damage in our ulti, come down on top of them, and every time that we come down with our ulti, we are also gonna summon one of those pools, which is nice. One thing that you should know about Jorm ulti that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is that it doesn't just do the damage on the spot that you land, it also does the damage in between the spots that you land. So when I land on this ulti, everybody knows that it does damage on that circle, but it also does damage on the way to the circle. So you actually saw the Kukulkan get hit right there by it. So that little segment in between, it also does the damage on that segment. So your little snake body comes down, and it does the damage in between those 2 spots. So where you land is the most damage, but it does do partial damage in between wherever you land and where you had started. So you get a little bit more bonus damage that way.
An enemy has been slain. You rock.
Also, Jorm has a very unique passive. Jorm cannot actually be hit by a lot of CCs. Jorm has immunity because he's such a thick lad to anything that would basically move him. So a Sobek pluck, Sobek tail whip for that matter, anything that would displace you, a Sylvanas pull, these kinds of things are not going to have any effect, or they're not going to have any normal effect, but what they will do is they will actually slow you and they will increase the amount of damage that you are taking. So CC can interact a little bit differently on Jorm. You can still be hit by other forms of CC, like you can still be hit by stuns and mezzes and all that good stuff. But some of those displacements you actually cannot be hit by, but it does have that other effect on your passive. Jorm also does have a pretty long passive over here. It talks about your auto attacks from your passive because that's unique. It talks about a CC because that's unique, all that kind of stuff. So for our level order, we're going to be 4, 2, 1, 3. We level up our ulti because it's going to give us actually a pretty good amount of damage. Our 2 because it's our main form of lane clear, also ranking up the damage. Then we rank up our 1. All of our abilities are based off of our pools. It gives us a little bit of damage, also damage per tick, and lowers the cooldown. And then finally our 3. Our 3, you know, is the initiation tool. It is our getaway tool. So sometimes we use it for damage, sometimes we're just using it for running away, and it doesn't like give us a little cooldown on it or anything. So we don't have a super big reason to prioritize it, which is why our leveling order is 4, 2, 1, 3. Now, Kukulkan doesn't have his jump up here. I'm feeling like I can get pretty greedy, so I'm gonna actually, oh, unfortunate. I was trying to blink in right there, but the minions actually walked over the 1, putting me in combat right as I was about to go in. Just a little bit of unfortunate timing right there. So for our build, we grabbed ourselves the Vampiric Shroud. Vampiric Shroud really, really helps you in the early game on Jorm, on RDO, really on any Guardian solo. It helps a ton in the early stages of the game. It does not transfer as well into the late game as the Axe does. If you go the Axe early, chances are you're gonna get your butt kicked in the lane. The reason why Guardians can get away with the solo lane is actually because a lot of this Vampiric Shroud sustain is going to let me do enough damage. It's going to let me stick around long enough. But the Sundering Axe with its 10% steal is simply the better late game relic. So if you can find a way to hold out for Sundering Axe, that's great. For the most part, I find that the game snowballs a little bit too much anyway, so I would rather have the early clear. But you should know that the Vamp Shroud doesn't transition nearly as well for you as a Guardian solo as that Sundering Axe would. It's just so much infinitely better in the early stages of the game. For our second item, I'm going right into a mystical mail. So I grab my power boot here. Power boot's pretty standard on solo lane Guardians, just to get that little bit of extra clear so you can start full clearing, looking for rotations, looking to go into the enemy jungle, all that good stuff. And then I'm gonna go into the mystical mail. I'm against two physicals. I've got a physical solo laner and a physical jungler. They're rocking triple physical, double magical. So I'm really going to focus on that physical defense first. And so I'm going to get the mystical mail for some of that bonus damage around me. And then I'm going to grab myself a quick Void Stone here for some magical defense, as well as a bunch of damage. Void Stone's going to give me that AoE 10% reduction in pen, which also factors in really well with flat pen. It combines really well because Aura Pen procs before flat pen. So it actually combines very well with that if you do want to get some flat pen in your build a little bit later. Jorm does not get a lot of gameplay right now. Jorm is a god that I would like to call win lane, lose game. Is where I find that Jorm falls right now. So you don't see him at very high levels of gameplay super often. So Guardians are quite good right now, but mostly in the support role. Ymir, Ares, Geb, Khepri, all of these gods are very viable right now in supports. You can go aggressive support, you can go defensive supports. There's a lot of great options for the Guardian meta. Jorm, unfortunately, just really does not fit into any of these kind of predefined support slots. Think of him like a Cthulhu. Like, yeah, Cthulhu's great, but Cthulhu's not a support, right? Jorm is like a worse version of Cthulhu. Like, he can still do pretty good damage. He's got a lot of pressure in the laning phase. You can see that I'm kind of just walking down this lane. Jorm is really good at winning lane, especially if you go into the Vampiric Shroud because of all the sustain that you get. But if the game goes ultra late, you're gonna find yourself dropping off pretty hard. So abuse your early game on the Jorm as much as you can. Take advantage of the extra XP, of the extra gold that you will probably have. You can see that I'm going to get to Cucullin. Cucullin's one of the best warriors in the game right now, and I'm still holding my own against him very well, just because Jorm's lane clear is absurdly good. Now, Jorm just uses dash into me, so I'm going to use my knock up and put some pools in his general direction. There is a Nox that is rotated over here. I don't want to use my ulti until the absolute last second if I don't have to. I'd rather just follow up with my 2 and grab the kill here. On Jorm, you have a very strong ability to play far forward. So on Jorm, he's not a character that you should be playing if you're a little bit more timid, a little bit more uncomfortable. One, he's not super meta right now, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend picking him off the bat. But if you are going to pick him, you need to be more confident with your gameplay. You can't be afraid to walk forward because his ultimate is such a good getaway ability. As much as you want to use it aggressive in order to grab kills over and over again, it's a lot of the times better to just keep the ulti up and use it as a getaway skill. Unless they've got some like legendary chasers on their team like a Janice, they're not going to be able to reach you after you use your ulti. Like, you're just gonna walk away from them and there's gonna be nothing that they can do about it. So as long as you keep that ulti up and you make sure you've got at least a couple HP, you have to make sure you can get through the actual channel. I pushed myself a little bit too far forward. I'm half on HP, but then I use my ulti to get all the way basically from their blue buff to my tower. No fear of dying right there. So now I'm gonna grab myself my Void Stone. I'm also going to get myself well, I've got a couple of options this game. I'm gonna get a shell for the team, and I'm actually gonna rank it up early, and I'm gonna grab myself a sentry ward as well. So they've got a Nemesis and a Set, two really strong auto attackers. Shell is going to be good for me for the block stacks, but it's also going to be really nice for my whole team. You can actually see that my team has 3 shells this game because they have also recognized how much block stacks are going to be able to help us out. And we finish our Void Stone, which is actually going to give me a nice bit of damage. Now I see that the Cucullin is rotating over, so I'm going to start rotating over as well because I can meet them here pretty quickly. Before I get into lane, I'm going to pop my 3 so that they don't know exactly where I am and I can get a little bit closer to them. Throw a 1 past this Nox because that's going to hit her with the slow. And then I'm going to follow up right into this tower and play forward. So with Jorm, even though you're a Guardian, your peeling potential is actually quite low, which is another reason why you do not play Jorm as a support. Looks like my whole team has basically died, so I'm just gonna continue to walk away on this one and go look over by gold. I have a feeling they're gonna go for the Gold Fury, and my ultimate's coming back up, so I should be able to contest it. Throw down a sentry ward right here to see if they have anything. Looks like Set was waiting for me to come in from that direction, so I'm actually gonna walk in from the backside. Throw down my 1 first, then I'm going to go for this knockup. Unfortunately, I'm going to get Nox 2'd, so I'm not going to be able to follow up and get a big damage off right there. They're going to get themselves that Gold Fury, so we should be able to follow up and maybe grab ourselves a couple of kills. So I am a pretty large target, so the Jorm can kind of just go for me whenever she wants. It's not that hard to land the old Nox combo onto the Jorm since he's such a big, beefy boy. And so you should expect to be hit by that over and over again. Same type of deal if you're playing like a Cthulhu. You are literally a larger target, which means you have a bigger hitbox. And so you are a lot easier to hit with abilities. So harder to hit abilities like the Nox combo are going to be thrown at you a lot. So I've got about 1 more item that I can buy before I need to make sure that I'm saving up to upgrade my Vampiric Shroud. I'm going to put myself into some more physical defense this game. I'm going to need to be able to sustain through that Nemesis ulti, that Set coming right at me. Another item that wouldn't be actually horrible this game is just a Wing Blade. I don't love the Wing Blade on Jorm. But in general, the Wing Blade would actually be a pretty good item this game. I'm going to look and see if they are building into crit. They are not building into crit, so I don't need to worry about getting something like a Spectral Armor. They do have a decent bit of sustain actually on the Set, so I could get a Contagion, but that's kind of schmeh. So I'm actually going to get a Witchblade here for the team. Witchblade's going to give me some physical defenses. It's going to give me HP, cooldown, and some movement speed to help me get in the range of my 3. It's also got to get that attack speed reduction. So when you combine the Witchblade and the Shell, those are actually really efficient together because you're slowing their attack speed, plus you've got 2 block stacks. So you're basically just making those 2 block stacks last even longer. So I'm going to turn around this 3 right here and try to get as much damage on this Nem as I can. I can see that the Set is pretty low. I'm going to pop the Shell for my team and start ulting right now. I need to get onto the Set. I can see that he's trying to teleport right there. He's not going to be able to get off. Going to land down my pools and try to make a little bit of room between my Hui and the rest of their team. And then I got to use my last one to go ahead and get me out of this. Going right over here for the new one. Going to hit him with my knockup and then hit him with the 2 follow-up. And I'm going to get a big heal off of that as well from my Vampiric Shroud. So right there, you can see that I was playing aggressive with my ultimate on the first 2. And then by the time that I got to my 3rd part of my ulti, which is the one that I'm actually going to come out of, I used it a little bit more defensively. I positioned myself back underneath the tier 2 tower. And so that way they can't come dive me and kill me as easily. So even though I was using it mostly as an aggressive ability right there, I still use it a little bit defensively at the end just to position myself a little bit better. So after this Witchblade, I'm going to be getting close to level 20 and having my abilities all ranked up. I'm going to be getting a Blood-Soaked Shroud here at the end of the game. Like I said, this Vampiric Shroud is not the dream for us at the end of the game. This is about the point of the game where it's like, oh man, I wish I had the Warriors action instead, but you cannot sell your starter items and get a different one. You can sell your starter item and not have one at all, but you can't sell them and get a different one. So this is where you just kind of have to suck it up. The Sacrificial Shroud is going to be a little too aggressive for us as a solo laner that doesn't really have any lifesteal outside of the starter item. We don't need to be taking any more damage than we already are. Plus, with Jorm's passive, you have increased damage taken if you're CC'd. You don't really want increased damage taken on top of taking damage on top of yourself. That's not the dream. So we're just going to upgrade it into a little bit more passive item. I'm going to throw down my 1 and kind of use it as a little bit of a zoner right there between my team. We're going to be able to follow up on that new one, grab another kill. I've got a sentry ward over here for the fire giant. Jorm is really good at killing wards because of his auto attacks. He actually does really well at just slaying those wards. He's also really good at killing those alpha heartbeat camps. I'm gonna get a little greedy here. I'm actually gonna chase after this set. I know that his teleport is down, and it looks like we are gonna be able to quickly grab that. Now we need to get the boys out of here, so I'm gonna use my 3rd ulti to come down. Hopefully I can take the tower for them. It doesn't look like I am. The Athena is actually tanking it for us, though. That is fantastic, and we're gonna get away with a very aggressive dive there. So you can see that this Blood-Soaked Shroud isn't going to be like the most relevant item for us on Jorm, just because that passive, we're not going to be able to get the most efficient use out of it. But it's still a good stat efficient item. It isn't bad at all. For our last item, we're going to get an item that almost exclusively only gets bought on Jorm. And that's because of the way that it works with his pool, and that is going to be a Gem of Isolation. Gem of Isolation I actually do like on the Jorm. We've got the slows on our 1 and our 2, and so when you combine the Gem of Isolation, 20% slow with that, you actually get people really slowed down inside of your pools. So with our build, slowing them down with our 1 and our 2, plus slowing down the attack speed on these carries with our Witchblade, plus we've got the block stacks on our shell. With our team, we've got 4 shells. That is potentially 8 block stacks. We're going to be absolutely shutting this set down, which is exactly what you need to do if you are against a set. So I'm going to start trying to zone. I'm going to get in front of these guys, try to use my body here as the solo laner. That's kind of my job. I got to get all up in their business. I'm not going to be sitting in the back line peeling. I'm going to be diving into the front line, looking to get out a bunch of damage. I've got my shell if my team needs it. Looks like the set is going to try to come in on this. Now he's kind of backing off. There's still a back over here, though. There was 3 of them. That's going to be Aegis beads down on the Nemesis. My Athena is going to be in a lot of trouble. I see that my Hui is going in, which is really a crazy place. I'm actually going to jump back over to him. I'm going to throw him down a shell for those block stacks, and I'm going to try to get as many people off of him as I can. So I'm actually kind of turning into more of a peeler right here in this situation, and we might even be able to start up this Gold Fury and do it again. Just got to keep our eyes out for this Nox really fast. So in that fight, you go. Oh, speaking of the Nox, I want to go down. That was a really good combo in the backline. We do get the Oni Fury, but the Nuwa respawn ulti into the Nox combo being stuck was actually really smart right there. So now that I'm level 20, I can get myself my blood-soaked shroud. Just gonna give me a little extra physical protections and health, plus 75 magic power. Nothing wrong with any of that. And then we're gonna work ourselves into our Gem of Isolation. So in this build, we don't have a ton of magical defenses, but they've only got a Nuwa and then it's a Nox support. So then they're a little bit behind anyway, so I'm not super concerned about their magical damage. Says the guy that just died to magical damage, but to be fair, I actually mostly died to physical damage on the Gold Fury, because most of their damage dealers are gonna be this set, this Nemesis, that kind of combination right there. Now, if they didn't have so many auto attackers that I was concerned about on my team, I wouldn't have gone the Witchblade this game. That Witchblade is specifically as a team fight relic, which is not bad on Jorm, because honestly, at the end of the game, you have to kind of transition into a little bit more team fight oriented. You can't be quite as selfish as you would want to. So you can kind of see with my build, I've got Aura Pen for my team. I've got myself Aura minus attack speed. I'm gonna get myself a Gem of Isolation to slow them a little bit more. I've got a Shell for my team. So I'm kind of embracing a little bit more of that support-like nature, even though I'm over in the solo lane. And that's because Jorm drops off really, really hard, particularly after about the 25-minute marker. He used to be a little bit better. A while ago, he used to be pretty good when Thorns was really OP, but you know, Thorns got nerfed and he didn't have the reflex quite as much. And he's just not quite the same god. Now we need to be careful. We need to get off of this fire giant and we need to start looking for a fight. We're gonna take a lot of damage. That's a huge raw snipe right there. Now my Huyi just jumped in, so I'm actually gonna kind of stick around him. I'm gonna pop him down another shell. He had already gotten one shell. I gave him a second one right there. And I'm just trying to keep him alive. He jumped in very, very aggressively. And I'm just trying to walk around and keep him alive, slowing down people as much as I can. But now the set is still alive, so I need to ulti to kind of get myself out of here. I don't know if the new ulti is still up or not. Keep in mind, when you are in Jorm Ultimate, you can actually still be hit by abilities like Nuwa ulti. A lot of people think that they're actually damage immune in Jorm ult. It's not true. You can't be targeted basically while you're in Jorm ult, but you can still take damage. So something that hits everybody on the map, like a Nuwa, is still going to slap you while you are in the middle of your ultimate. Now it's time to back it up, get ourselves this Gem of Isolation, and then we need to head back over to the Fire Giant. Luckily, nobody could do it right there. So you can see, even with all of this focus on countering the set is still killing everybody. That's why we're putting so much pressure on this. Now I'm gonna blink past this guy. I'm gonna throw down my one on top of him. He's gonna be slowed by that Gem of Isolation proc. And hopefully this is gonna give me and Nemesis enough time to grab ourselves a quick little new kill. Like to make a shout out to Blink and Gem of Isolation right there for keeping me alive. Now it's time for us to walk over to the Fire Giant and take another swipe at this. Now we really need to be focusing this set. If we can get this set down, I think we're going to be in a really good spot. So he needs to be our main priority focus. The set actually is over in left lane right now. So I wouldn't mind us looking for a fight. Because the set isn't here, I would love to look for a quick pick on like this Kakulin or somebody. So I'm gonna play a little bit far forward right now. They've got 3 people here, but I'm genuinely not afraid of these 3 people. I've got my ulti up. I can walk away if I need to. I'm gonna go back, try to help out my Ra. That is dashes down on them. That's Aegis down on them. I'm gonna put my one between where the Nem is gonna go on the floor. That way she has to walk through the Gem of Isolation slow. And now I'm gonna call for the Fire Giant. So keep in mind, because your pool sits there on the floor, it is actually an ability that you can use to zone people from getting out. So I'm gonna use my pools and summon a couple more right over where they would be walking in. So that way if they walk in, they have to walk right through the Gem of Isolation slow once again. Nox is trying to use her abilities to get away. I'm gonna follow up with the knockup. I think the Nox is going to run right through here to get away, so I throw down my 1. He gets hit by the Gem of Isolation. He is super slow, and now we can back up and go shove left in mid lane. Attack left and attack mid. Fantastic. I'm going to rank up my Blink, grab myself another Sentry Ward. And at this point, we are max build. If I were to sell my Shoes of the Magi, I might get myself something a little bit more hybrid defensy, like a Spirit Robe, give me a little bit more cooldown. Kind of helps balance out your passive a little bit as well. You take a little bit more damage, but depending on the CC that you get hit by, you'll take a little bit less damage because of the Spirit Robe. So it kind of helps balance out that passive a little bit, so it's not quite as extreme. Now we can just walk right into this guy. I am slowing him with the Gem of Isolation. He's going to be taking a ton of damage right here. And this actually might be a huge pick. End game picks like this can lead to the W. So I'm going to ulti. I'm still chasing for this new one, so I'm going to use it very aggressive. I see that they have gone ahead and shelled, so I wait to use my ulti to finish up on this. Build myself as much time as I can. I don't mind the damage that I'm taking right here. We actually just got 3 kills. I saw 1 person off in the jungle still, so they might be running right back towards me. They are. I need to be careful for this Nox. I'm going to try to throw that one deep to hit the Nem with the slow. It does hit her, which is going to get us a little bit more time. Now we can follow up with the 2 right here, and we can actually probably end the game by just shoving through left lane. We've now got 30-second death timers. Throw out the 1, zone out the Nox a little bit from coming in and defending the Phoenix, even if she wanted to. I've got my shell up. I got everything up, and we should be able to put this one right on away. So with the build, we ended up being a little bit more hybrid, a little bit more team fight focused, more anti their team than necessarily pro selfish for ourselves. Our Vamp Shroud carries us through the early game, allowing us to get into the late game already big, which is great because then we can't obviously get the Sundering Axe at that point, which is the better late game starter item, but I do prefer the early Snowball in my lane so I can start rotating faster, so I can start proxy farming, so I can try to get into the enemy jungle, guys. So when you're playing Jorm, make sure you're playing aggressive. Make sure as long as your ulti is up, you are pressing forward. If your ulti isn't up, pressing forward is not really going to be an option because then you're just a big old snaky, easy to hit target. So make sure your ulti is up when you're going aggressive. But every time it's up, you should be going hard, going for the proxy, guys. And that is our Jorm. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.